Okay. Perfect. So yeah, now we're recording. So yeah, my name is, like I said, my name is Kevin. Can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and I guess your business, Saltability?
Sure. My name's Ann Brown. I started Saltability in the end of 2014. It came out of, I've been in the spa industry for about 25 years, mostly opening and designing resort spas for a living. And I wanted to solve a problem of how to make the hot stone massage a little bit cleaner, less chemicals, no water, kind of clean it up. We're in a eco-friendly business and we weren't really walking our talk. So I patented and designed a way to heat up hand-carved Himalayan salt stones without the use of water, with 15th less electricity and no chemicals.
Oh, nice. And then so for something like that, like how long did it take you to, come up with the design or the patent and then sort of get everything in production?
It took about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And I think my best quality and my worst quality is impatience.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. So I just didn't waste any time. I had 2 engineers that were very entrepreneurial and they helped me design it. And I paid for 5 prototypes. And every time I would just spend all my time working on the one prototype they sent to see if it was good, it could be better, how efficient it was. And I did my due diligence. I see a lot of people that kind of wait and say, oh, I'm going to get around to that. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's a good and a bad quality.
Yeah, yeah. For something like that, did you like save up previous money for that? I know you were saying you had a previous business, so you were able to use some of your funds from your other company for this new, I guess, prototypes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to speak honestly. I was at a very large resort spa, one of the largest in the Midwest, and I was paid well and I was bored.
Yep.
And what I hear a lot of people say that aren't entrepreneurs is, or even entrepreneurs, after a little bit of time, they get bored.
Hmm.
So I was really effectively bored, and I thought, so I just started using some of my own money because I really didn't want to go out and make it formal, maybe just through the risk of failure. So
Hmm.
I just put aside some of my own money and kept piecemealing it and finding ways to keep growing the company I had in my head and working my day job too.
Yeah. No, that's exactly. Yeah, I know exactly how you feel because when I was at my other company in San Francisco, I had the same feeling. I was there for about 2 years, and you just get bored, and you're just like you have this itch that you want to do something, and it's like you can't stop thinking about it. And yeah, I mean that's sort of what I had. I was living in San Francisco about 4 years ago, and then I left to essentially come to New York because I just couldn't do it. Like I don't know, it's like a feeling that you have, and because entrepreneurs have that feeling, I guess.
And it is, it's an itch, it's an irritation, it's also a vulnerability.
Yeah,
And, I have to say, there's been some really good things that have come out of it and some things that I want to work on that, when you're an entrepreneur, you tend to work your day job and your evening job, and in your sleep, you tend to think this is my worth now. And I was really good at spending other people's money. I've always been a very goal-oriented gal and with profitability. And I'm in the hospitality industry, so customer service excellence. I am a world spa judge. So making sure that I hit all the marks and almost a level of perfection is
yeah,
a double-edged sword too. So, I think as an entrepreneur now for 4 years, what I miss is sometimes growing with a group of people. I tend to do a lot of charity work now when I'm not working because I love the mental human capital of some of those people. They've reached pinnacles in their
hmm,
lives where they're super bright and they want to give back. And people say, gosh, why do you do all this charity work? And really it's because as an entrepreneur, I'm working with 2 or 3 or 4 people that I like, but in past
hmm,
resort industries, I'd be working with a full executive team and 20 or 30 people. Or if I was consulting, I'd be consulting with one of the leading day spa chains in the US. And so then you're kind of around just the smartest 2% in their company. And it drives me wild in a way of getting me going. So, there's pros and cons to everything. I think you have to kind of make
yeah.
lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I was working at a big company too. I was working at Intuit, and that's a massive company, and you
It
just meet
is.
a lot of big people and a lot of smart people. And then with your own company, it's much smaller, and sometimes you do miss that. You're like, oh, I just miss the camaraderie, like really smart people working together, and just that whole sort of feeling was you don't have yet because you're still growing your company.
Well, and I think it's based. I am very close friends with people that I've met here in Boca Raton through a lot of charity, and they're very affluent. And he's a very big immigration attorney. But he said to me, I only want to work by myself,
Mm.
and I don't. But I wouldn't have known that being an entrepreneur, because all I was doing was fixing a problem. I was going to grow this business, but I didn't really realize I would spend a lot of my time asking myself, is this the best decision? Instead of people and mentors and colleagues on the same level as me. So there are personalities that love that kind of one horse rodeo kind of thing. And from all my personality tests, I'm a little more altruistic, where I would like to build people up and grow people into new jobs and different perspectives. So I guess I'm doing that through charity now.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Same thing. I'm similar to that too, where I kind of want to work with team members, and I just don't want to be with myself. That's sort of kind of what I'm doing this, connecting with other entrepreneurs, just because being alone is not for me, and I like it sometimes because you get work done, but I also like that team building, building people up, teaching them things that they might have not known, and also just talking about ideas and processes or the issues that you're going through because you're working together and you're seeing it, and then you're getting
Well,
better.
you don't really know what you don't know. I just joined an entrepreneur group, and the fella's a trust attorney, and he wanted to just, I think he wanted to get out of the attorney reference and grow with other people. So it's myself and three men.
Mhm.
One is a certified financial planner. One owns a bunch of CrossFits, not a bunch, but a few.
Mhm.
And one is this attorney. And one thing I've learned from them that I wouldn't have known is, man, their efficiency levels are crazy high. Like I don't eat long. Like it's a negative. Like if they have such efficiency levels all day. And I
Yeah.
thought maybe it's the man versus a woman thing. I mean, I think that women are pretty efficient, but I would have never known that they use all these even templates for efficiency levels, and they're constantly reading books on being efficient and every minute counts. And I think, oof,
Yeah.
it's, but who would have known that efficiency levels, you mean, that you're in a,
Yeah.
even working with Intuit, it's about efficiency. It's about casting this large net of accounting software and having everything for everyone. But
Yeah, no, even for us here, we always kind of like said before, we try to read efficiency books and how to get better, even optimize like 1 hour, even for something like this calls, I have everything kind of automated and set up. That way, it's like, okay, I know where I'm going to go on, I know what I need to do, and sort of that way, I'm planned out my day because some weeks like
but
this.
in the opposite spectrum, I'm in the spa industry. Every morning I do a meditation by myself for about 35 full minutes, and I idolize that time every day. I wouldn't miss it. I want to shut off my phone,
Mhm.
not be more efficient on it. So, because I think that grinds me more than anything. If I can leave my phone alone and go to the beach, I live on the ocean. So, but I thought yesterday when I was on the ocean, I said, boy, it's been a week since I've actually been to the beach. Like, trying to find that space between
Yeah.
on duty and kind of how do I reward myself? How do I be kind to myself? I'm also doing a mirroring workshop where you literally say to yourself, I love you, Anne, in a mirror. And
Mm.
I know that sounds silly, but honestly, if, we tend to have this little negative chatterbox going on about what we could do better, because as an entrepreneur, you are kind of your best supporter and your worst critic.
Yep.
And if the worst critic takes over, you tend to, especially I think a lot of entrepreneurs are perfectionistic. And I think some of that reduces with age and children and life in general, but for me, I'm learning to kind of plug out more than plug in.
Yeah, no, that don't make sense. Because even for me, like even yesterday, I just couldn't stop thinking about something for work, and like it was just like I was at a show and I was just like thinking to myself, okay, like if I just do this when I get home, I'll be totally fine. I can sleep at night. But it's like you say, it's like you're just constantly thinking about it, and it's like I'm like, okay, everything's going fine. I just don't need to do this. I just need to relax, and I'll be fine. And like, but when I went home, I did it anyways, just because it was just.
And I'm sure your phone's never off. Like Thich Nhat Hanh, I mean, he's big on breathing in, I'm breathing in, breathing out, I'm breathing out. So I've started a yoga program every evening, really because like you, and I don't know, I won't speak for you, but I'll speak for myself. I like to pop in and out. I just came from kickboxing. So I get in here really early, I work, I go to kickboxing, I come back out. I then go run an errand, I come and work really hard for 3 hours. Around 4, I'm kind of tapped out. I've had enough. So, but what I would do is go home and I'd think, wow, what are the fun people doing? What are they going to do till 9:30? So I'd go do some laps. And so now I do a 75-minute hot yoga program, and it gets me into the evening hours. I listen to a lot of Wayne Dyer, and his thing is, when you're filled with all this energy and chatter, whether good or bad in your mind, you stay busy. But when your mind starts to rest, sometimes it can be a very alone, almost lonely type of feeling because you're so not used to plugging out. So for me, it's just a great transition, that 4:30 to 5:45, to allow me to reconnect with my body and head and mind and heart, and then go into the evening hours with a sense of what's coming next. What am I going to do now for myself to kind of be kind, to reward myself, to start to calm down?
Yeah. Okay. So you do this every day? Like it's your weekly, daily ritual? Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I need it.
Yeah. No,
I don't know what you're doing, but you can't just stay all balled up. Now you can when you're as young as you are, but for me, it's not, it's not that healthy. I'm recently divorced, so that's a new layer of it too. And, back to the company though, I think I started a second company about 1 year ago that does similar things, but I needed a partner, and we're building salt walls, kind of those Himalayan block salt walls. And I needed an engineer to help. So I asked this guy, I said, hey, let's get an operating agreement. I'd known him for 10 or 12 years. And there could be no shortages of me starting companies. But you have to do not just step 1 through 5. You have to do 5 through 95.
Yeah, which is like, everything after. I know exactly what you mean. Like I have so many ideas, but like the 1 through 5 is always the exciting part. And then it's like the rest, which is like, oh my God, it's like the actual work. And
and some of us that are entrepreneurial, we don't like the day-to-day operations. It doesn't drive me wild to do the mundane of some box that got cracked in UPS shipping over the Christmas holidays. It was going to Hong Kong.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah, that's why, like, for me, exactly. You want to either hire a team member or sort of like, for us at least, we sort of try to make it. So if we don't want to do that, who do we bring on board that is good at that and loves doing that role? That way that position or sort of that division can excel much better than, let's say, I would ever do it because I'm not that passionate about it.
Yeah, and I think it's about delegating, but you have to be big enough to where you can add staff and you can delegate. Otherwise, it drives me crazy to see people sitting around not having a whole lot to do.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, I guess like going back on, like, once you finish your prototype and, manufacture the product, what was the process of, like, I guess, launching the product or your online store?
We have one very large spa show. It's the International Spa Association conference. It's every year. It's usually in Vegas. And by the time June of 14 had rolled around, the concept was live in my mind. I had just paid the money for the prototype, and I thought, okay, I'm going to spend $8,000 on this conference in October, and I'm going to debut the line. So I went and got a videographer, and he did this 5-minute video that's on my home site that talks about the mission and vision of the company. I knew a lot of therapists because I was running one of the largest spas in the United States. So I took a couple of therapists with me. I brought the salt. I ran to the engineers for the 5th prototype, literally on the way to the airport to Vegas. I had a backdrop done, and I went and debuted the line. I also rented a suite in Vegas, so I had invited 10 of the most esteemed peers in the spa industry, the head of Nordstrom, the head of Miraval, some of the chains, the head of all the Mandarin Orientals, and I knew them. I had sat on boards, I'd co-authored books with them, and I asked them to come get a treatment outside of the conference hours. So there was literally, we could do it at 7 and 9 in the morning, or 8 and 10, or else you got in trouble by the conference. And my first client for the company was all the spa Nordstroms in North America.
Oh, wow. That's really good. That was just because you knew that.
The woman who's been there 20, it's kind of like that book Outliers. You're only so far away. If you're in an industry and you're high level, I think there's another book called In the Meantime, and it deals more with relationships. But I've done more business in the meantime on a plane, just being off duty at a conference and having a salad, or, networking with people, or just, I think, like Wayne Dyer says, how do I serve?
Yep.
If you come with that image to people every day and you kind of don't have what are you going to get back in return, it all pays you forward. So I had known the woman from Nordstrom, but never done business with her. She'd been at Nordstrom for 26 years. And she goes, Ann, I had that massage. She brought her assistant who's been with her for 20 years. And they both flew in from Seattle. They had the massages. One had it at 7 p.m. One had it at 8. They had dinner reservations in Vegas. And she said, I kept feeling my skin, and I kept thinking, I feel so good right now, and my skin feels the best it's ever felt. Is that massage really the difference? And she said, right then and there, I said, we're going to go live with this. And she took a risk. But as you know, Kevin, some of it is about risk and mitigating, kind of worrying about what's going to happen if this blows up, if the concept doesn't work, if this girl, because she said, Ann, I need to ask some frank questions. How much inventory do you have? Can you support a chain like us? Are you insured? Some of the things that could have gotten her in hot water. So I think there's something to being said for having that historical commitment with her company. I mean, she was very anchored with company vision and mission for Nordstrom, and kudos for their team, because she asked tough questions.
And then for something like that, like did you have the inventory? How big of a deal was this for something like you, like since you were just debuting?
I can tell you, I haven't thought about this in a while, but so we went live with 17 Nordstroms right away. Actually, I went to that conference in October of 14, and I said to everyone, this is a prototype. We finalized it. I've spent 5 months. This is a good prototype, but we're not going to have it for 14 weeks to sell it. So I didn't have it till March of 2015 to even sell. Well, in March, guess who wanted it? Nordstrom. So I remember I had to bring in all Himalayan salt is mined in Pakistan, every little ounce of Himalayan salt. I had met a family through my ex-husband. He had done an alumni status program through Harvard. And in July, he graduated. And so I took my kids up because I wanted to let them know wherever they want to go to school is up to them. If it's in the realm of fairy dust and they can do it. And when we were there was 2 guys graduating from Pakistan, and I just went up to both of them and I said, look, I'm going to start this Himalayan salt business. I know the salt is mined in Pakistan. Do you know anyone that I could talk to? Because Peter, my ex, had been in this program for a year, so he had gotten to know these guys. And one of them said, my brother-in-law sells basmati rice around the world. I'll ask him. Well, I just talked to them. They came from Dubai last week, the family, and they are the largest exporter of Himalayan salt in the world because of me. Not because I buy it all, but because they started developing the trend before it became a trend. So in 2014, there was some salt lamps out there, but not like you can buy them at Costco today. So they said to me, we know you're not our biggest buyer, but you got us in the industry. And now we don't even sell Himalayan. We don't even sell anything but Himalayan salt.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
Yeah. And they are they're very astute,
Yeah.
well-known family
Have you been
in
to
Pakistan.
Pakistan?
They do very well. I haven't,
Okay.
but and I've been kind of warned in many respects just to be very cautious.
Yeah.
They, of course, say it's fine and I would have a great time. And maybe at some point I will have that faith in all of it. But
Yeah.
at this point, I may end up taking my kids with me they'll be 14 and 16 at that point to Dubai and meeting the family.
Okay.
Although I've met them, they've come to the US. I've met them 3 times and I've met their son who runs the Salt. And like they said to me, your family, you got us in this business.
Yeah.
So I was lucky. Yeah, I got some other big chains. Miraval went on and they're the #1 resort destination spa in the world
Oh, wow.
at that time. So all you need is 4 or 5-star.
Mhm.
And that, like they say, deal with the classes deal with the classes.
Yeah.
It sets you apart. Then you can go for all the rest of the spas. They want to do whatever the 5 stars are doing.
Yeah. So basically, like you got to the top ones, and everybody else is coming to you because they want the same for their business.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
great.
now we're with like Hand and Stone spas. There's 320 in the U.S. We're with Lifetime, all the Lifetime Fitness. They have a spa component. We're with that Woodhouse. They have about 120 spas. There's a couple that are bigger than some of these that I said no to for the right reasons. Just because you're a big franchise doesn't mean, everything's about your cycle of growth. And sometimes franchises get stagnant. They don't run well. And there's a lot of these membership models that are $39, $49, $59 for a massage now in the U.S. And they're very competitive, and some run well and some don't. So some I learned early on is, as a client or even an employer, I can fire you or you can fire me.
Yeah.
With employees, they can fire you too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they're worth it, you don't want them to fire you.
Yeah.
So I kind of fired a couple of these chains before they said
Yeah.
yes. They were like, we're very interested in your line. And I thought that's going to bring my line down, not up.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to sort of maintain the premium and the quality of where you're at that way.
And the integrity. I don't want, someone, not treating what I'm doing with respect, because if there are negative claims or some of the therapists don't like it, that's going to weigh on my brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your overall brand, sort of like the vision that you have for the company.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I'm being courted by some other wellness franchise opportunities that want to see healing and wellness done in one stop, where you would get whatever, acupuncture, you would get cryotherapy, you would get salt, you would get chiropractic. There may even be a barista there. There might be a juice station. So they're looking at, it's almost like a big fitness component, but in a smaller franchise where you could get multiple things for a membership fee. Because some of the biggest problem in my industry, Kevin, is there's not a lot of massage therapists anymore. When the downturn happened, so much of it was financial aid to go to massage school, and most people couldn't afford $12,000, $15,000.
Yeah.
So they didn't go. So now we have a huge shortage of massage therapists. So we have all these underutilized rooms. It's kind of a disruptor, really. They look at the hospitality industry and what Airbnb and VRBO have done to it and disrupted the whole identity of getting a hotel room.
Yeah. Yeah. The Airbnb. There's also, have you ever looked at like those like on-demand massage?
Yeah, Zeal and Soothe. I know the CEO of Zeal, Sammer, very well.
Zeal, right?
Pardon me?
Oh, I don't know him, but yeah, I've seen those apps as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting model. My thing is, I am making hand-carved stones.
Yeah.
So, I don't have it in front of me, but they don't want them carrying a whole bunch. They don't want them. So when you can just come and give a massage, they even, I think Zeal will buy a client a massage table after so many massages, so the therapist doesn't have to drag it around.
Drag. Because I was looking into it and I was like, oh wow, like they're carrying the table. I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah. And therapists don't like to carry a table. So guess what? They find jobs where they don't have to carry a table. And Zeal wants them to be a massage therapist for a portable massage
Yeah.
paradigm, and it's a new concept, and they've gotten, it's interesting because what they've done is they've changed your model from almost consumers getting massage to now going into resort spas and saying, we can staff your spa with
Mm.
therapists from Zeal. So they've looked
Oh.
at a whole different model, which, when I was watching, I had a golf scholarship in college, and sorry, this is sometimes what an entrepreneurial mind does, and I can see it in yours where it goes back and
Yeah.
forth. But I was watching Pebble Beach the other day on the TV, the golf, and I thought, oh my God, they're doing this kind of Acon whole of the something. And what it is it's like a fantasy football thing for golf. And I thought, man, that is so smart because, golfers, private clubs, their membership's down. People don't like to spend 5 hours out on a course.
Yeah.
So the whole industry in reality is in the decline because there's not, everyone looks the same now. They're all 24. They all do Pilates. They're not like Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're having to reestablish kind of who their market is, what attracts people.
What's going to attract people? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, now you know. Now you know that I need something to sleep at night because, the fire stays on, doesn't it? In
It does stay on, especially when you're like someone like you. I could tell like you're so invested into this industry, this whole thing. Like you think about it all the time, and it's sort of I know exactly what you're feeling because you're just like you're reading up on it. You're trying to connect with other people in the industry.
But I look at other industries. A guy I know very well has a boutique car industry and very high end, and he said, I said, why would you want to put your cars behind glass, a Ferrari? Because I don't think people walk in and look at it as readily if it was on a dealership lot. And he said to me, because we're burning the dashboards up. In Florida, dashboards for a Ferrari can cost 15 grand. And when the sun's beating on the car and it's outside, but he said, we have this shield. And I said, well, why don't you make that shield for every car then? Like instead of just making it for the 60 cars on your, and he's like, I never thought about that. But and my brother's an aerospace engineer and I was never the academia of the family. I mean, I went to business school, but by the skin of my chinny chin chin. And my brother went, Embry-Riddle, MIT, aerospace. He runs the only full-scale wind tunnel with a rolling road under it in the world for Penske Racing. But what I understood from racing cars with him is it's bolt on, bolt off. I mean, there's almost nothing you can't do if you really think about it.
Yeah. Okay. So then, interesting.
So I constantly look for ways to fix problems is really my goal. I always think, wow, the efficiency level here, what if you could do that? Or, it's kind of like delivery dudes. Who would have thought 5 years ago that, we'd be ordering food from our favorite restaurant, paying $5 to get it delivered to our damn house?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Huh? That's such a big trend now. Like I only order through the apps.
And I have never done that. I have never, because I'm old school and I want to reward myself with a nice meal out.
Yeah.
And, I'm still kind of social where I'm not around enough people where you probably are like, oh, I'm so tired of talking to people and interviewing people, where I'm not. I'm thinking, hell yeah, I'm going to get dressed up and go out.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I was actually talking this with like my friends back then where like going out to restaurants, at least for me, going out to restaurants with my family was like a treat. Now, like I go out to eat almost every single day. And it's just like, I just numb to it. Where before when like we're growing up, it's like, okay, we're going to go eat at a fancy restaurant. It's like, okay, you got dressed up. And that's like, you wear like their normal clothing to a fancy restaurant because it's just like another day. Like they're going to take my money.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But you know what? Unlike today, I like to dress up. I think perception is everything. And I was always worked in 5-star resorts, and it was always certainly my pleasure and all that Ritz-Carlton jargon of years ago. And I think that people look up, like I have people in my condo project, they're all older, retired, but they'll stop me and say, you're meticulously dressed every day.
Yeah.
And they want to know what I do. And that's created, like, even in my condo, I have a guy that wants to invest in my company right now just because he's retired and his accounting firm in Manhattan does $30 million a year and he's bored.
Yeah, just want to do invest
Okay.
in.
And that's because I dress up.
Yeah, just by dressing up. Yeah, no, yeah, you always look good, and especially like when we have client meetings here, I always tell my guys like you got to look nice because you just never know. Like maybe we will see the CEO and we're talking to a marketing manager, but what if the CEO walks by? You want to look
That's
good.
right.
So
That's right.
okay, perfect. Okay, so
And it's a tradition for me.
yeah, I guess yeah. For me, like I have to tell my guys like you need to dress up because they're so
Yeah.
used to like that whole like tech thing where they see on TV like no one dresses up. But I'm like,
Well, my
no,
daughter wears hoodies like it's 90 degrees and she has a hoodie on. And I think, really, it's Florida. But that's just that, Vans, surfboard, Billabong.
yeah, it's that's a lifestyle that you see all the time. So it's like, oh, this is what it's gonna be like.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I guess for you, like I guess most for your customers, have you had any trouble, I guess, retaining customers or like the people that you brought on board or used your product, they've never really left you? Is that has that been an issue or anything like that?
No, they haven't left. What they'll complain about or I'll
Yeah.
be challenged with is the price point. We're US engineered. I don't buy 10,000 at a time. It's not made in China.
Mhm.
And I think that's challenging. So I'm coming up now with a kind of a low end model because I believe that book, The Paradox of Choice, where if you give someone one choice, they'll say yes or no. But if you give them a choice of three, they're going to pick one.
Yeah.
And so I've just come up last year, 2 years ago, I came up with a second model that was lower priced. And this year I'll be coming up with one that will be for the individual sole practitioner to use in a rented or leased kind of therapeutic massage situation or chiropractic, more for just the one or two therapists that work on their own, that kind of thing, that'll be at a $300 price point. Because really, I've had a lot of chains say, oh, we need you to sign exclusivity agreements. Well, the reason I did this is because Himalayan salt is good for you. You rub it on the skin and it's mineral rich and alkaline and exfoliating. Why in the hell would I want to sign exclusivity and try not to get it into every consumer's hands?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense because they just want it for themselves. And then for something like these solo practitioners, like, the $300 product, how do you plan on like attracting these type of practitioners or consumers essentially?
Well, everyone's waiting for it. So I just need to say, hey, here's the Bentley model. This is why you'd want it in your 5-star treatment room. It's LED lit. It's beautiful. It's this, it's that. And here's the starter unit. And maybe you want to start with the starter unit and go up to the Bentley, but this gets it in the treatment room. And then you get to see how quickly the return on investment is, how your clients start retaining you more and more for therapeutic massage. And it's a win-win. So, it's kind of a bet on even trying the lower end model, which has the same benefits. It's just the delivery of heat will be not as pretty or pristine or prestigious or high end looking. So we don't lose clients. They'll say, I'm just not in the position to spend X amount on,
Yeah.
we have 15 treatment rooms and I need to put this in each treatment room and it's too expensive. So honestly, Kevin, it's not about the clients. It's about me freeing up my time so I can creatively think.
Yeah.
Because when I don't creatively think, I don't think of new items and new things to do.
Yeah. Okay. And do clients ever come to you with like, oh, I want this type of stone or this type of setup, and then you're like, oh, let me think about that, and then you
Yes.
ideate. Okay.
We're doing that a lot more. We did the largest salt room Haman in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, in Montego Bay. And it is amazing looking. I have another company called Himalayan Source. So if you went on that, you'd see it. So what happened there is now the owner of all the sandals properties, there's 21 sandals in the Caribbean. He saw it because he lives in Montego Bay. So now he's using all of the Saltability line, and we're about to put in a couple of salt rooms in two of his. One is a rebuild and one is a new design, I think in St. Lucia. So what it's doing is it's opening people's perspectives to say, not really can you design this, but do you have the capacity? And I think for you and I and other entrepreneurs, it's staying true to always answering those questions and always being available, not spreading yourself too thin. Why did I start this? I started it to solve a problem and to keep this therapeutic way and low energy and saving water to the masses. So, and that means we're in Hong Kong, we're in Macau, we're in England, we're in Ireland, we're in Australia. I need to keep growing my distributorship. But every time I try and grow a distributor, man, it takes me away from my day job because it's a lot of work to establish.
Yeah. When you do these type of projects, let's say the one in like Montego, do you yourself ever go there to do the installations or?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's good.
Yeah, I do. And a lot of times they want me to, because last year at the Four Seasons Oahu, it was a beautiful property and they had a salt wall built. It was 2 years ago before I had designed the company. And I said, I'm just not ready to build it. Go with this other guy. And they did. And I don't know what went wrong, but something didn't go exactly right. So they called me and they said, hey, can you help us finish this? So I did. And then they were like, we don't know what to do with this room. So then I designed the treatment and they won a huge innovation award for it.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times I'm licensed in all areas of spas, an esthetician, a massage therapist, all that. So then I can kind of connect the dots and design treatments. And that's what I did in Montego Bay. And they just had the housewives of Orange County go there last month and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, mentioned in their TV show?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Perfect. And then I guess like another question I have for you is sort of, I know you started using your engineers. Do you ever do you still use those engineers? Are they still part of your team, or is it sort of like kind of like a one-off type of thing? How does that sort of work? The ones that help you design and develop?
Well, so honestly, and I am 100% honest, we had a problem with our first generation unit. It would, some of the lights would go out of the LED system. So it would still heat, but it wouldn't light. And that was a problem with the engineering of it. But luckily it made it through its 1-year warranty and I was all good. But people aren't really happy, if it goes out in 14 months or 19 months. So I looked at 3 other engineering companies about 3 years ago and went with the second generation. And we've had no problems, which is good and bad, because if it has a 1-year warranty, there's a lot of people that would say to you, hey, make sure that it doesn't last too long so you can sell it to people again. But I'm not really born of that cloth. I'd rather it last as long as and they get happy, good feelings about dealing with me or Saltability. So yeah, I still use engineering companies. I've gotten smarter about having them additionally insured and making sure they're the manufacturer and some of that stuff, because anytime you're dealing with electric, you need to be real mindful of the potential to, be challenged in your own business or harm anyone.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, any other sort of electronic stuff, because we know with some clients too, it's just like you need to be insured, or even if you're importing, just making sure you have all the right paperwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. And so I guess another question is how did you, for someone, an entrepreneur like yourself, how did you find this sort of engineering companies? Did you go online? Did you have friends? Sort of how would someone start that if they don't have this sort of experience?
It's just, I think if you're curious, and I think that's a sign of intelligence. I've always been curious. You name it. If I meet a person, I don't know why, but if they're worth it and they seem smart enough, I want to know about them. So same with, if I'm looking for something, I'll just go and start. We have Google now and the World Wide Web where we didn't before. I grew up with a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas. It was very limiting to not plagiarize on what a parakeet eats or whatever, because everyone used the same book. Now there's so much that it really, I hate to say it, but it really dumbs it down to find a million people that can help you at your fingertip. And my kids, I hope that they're realize what a luxury it is to have, a computer called your phone, with you at all times. So it's not hard. I think the curiosity in me always drills down things to get me exactly where I need to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of exactly how I feel too. Like from us here, or at least for me, whenever I need to find something, I just Google it or YouTube, YouTube, we literally find anything and how to make something, or if you see someone talking about it, just email. So I always email people.
Well, and that's how I learned tennis. Like I had a golf scholarship in college and I wanted to play tennis, and my instructor was pretty good. I didn't want to fire her, but
Yeah.
I also knew she wasn't that good. So I just sit and watch the forehand and the backhand on YouTube, and she'd say, "Gosh, you've gotten a lot better since the last lesson." I'd think it's not because of you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, trust me. I always tell people, like, whenever we do marketing stuff here, it's like, oh, this is a cool new tactic or trick. I'm like, oh, I know. I just saw it on YouTube. I was just looking up new tactics for 2019, and honestly, what people are doing. Because people are
And we put out a lot of YouTube. We probably have 18, 20 videos because this is such a new concept that I would get very, very challenged with telling people
yeah.
the same thing over and over, how to clean the stones, how to set up the kit. So I just had a college guy that was getting his master's in video work come in, and we put the backdrop up, and I did about 15 videos. But, I was prepared. I had done an Atlanta TV show on wellness every week.
Yep.
So I'd gotten good at being in front of the camera. I mean, how much can you screw up? We're our own worst enemy. We get in our own way if we allow ourselves.
Yeah.
So I, a lot of times will just push through and say, hey, these people want to know how to set it up. I need to do this in 2 minutes. And so, yeah, we have a lot of video content. And that way, any of my support staff can just say, oh, you want to know how to clean the stones? Here's a video. And then they look at it and they go, wow, this is high level. And
Yeah. No, exactly. Even with the videos and recording, or just like even what I'm doing now, like I used to always just get in my head like, oh my God, I'm not gonna know what to say. And I'm just like, I need to do it. And, it turns out fine, and just push through it, and you just get better, and then you get more confident. And I mean, I just love talking to people like yourself. It's just interesting stories, and I'm learning. And yeah, like you said, just like you get in your own head sometimes.
Yeah. I think
It's like that entrepreneurial curse, which is like you kind of try to be a perfectionist, and it's just like everything in your head just comes out together at once.
Well, the funny thing is it was actually through a little bit of couples therapy about 10 years ago that my ex-husband and I went through, where the woman, she was a very good therapist from Northwestern, and she said, one-on-one, I just like to talk about your perfectionistic, qualities. And I was like, what perfectionistic qualities? I'll never forget it. I mean, I was like, what are you talking about? And so she went through it, and I was like, oh my God, she is talking about me. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I think I'm all that in a bag of chips about perception and reading people and all that. And she just started drilling down this checklist of stuff. And I was thinking, no, that sounds like me. No, wow, maybe I am. But I think age and being aware, we say I'm Catholic, and we say in Catholicism, contrition is when you know better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm trying to be less about Catholic guilt and more just about if I know better, I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
And I think, the same as if I'm a perfectionist, it's going to be, like I said, my best and worst quality. So I need to use it to my benefit. And I think some of that as I age is I'm learning not to judge other people. And in turn, it helps me not judge myself.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, because like you don't. Yeah, exactly. Because you never really know what someone's going through or what they're doing or how they've done things, and that's something I've gotten better as I guess I've gotten older. It's like you realize that like, oh wow, like I had this really bad day today, but no one knows it, and so it's like sometimes like I'm thinking about like, hey, like what if they're also going through something that I don't know? Because like sometimes I'm just thinking about myself, I'm like, oh wow, like today's not really good, but no one really knows why because I'm not telling people. So I try not to like. That's why I think I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want someone to judge me based on that.
Well, and everyone has pain in their life. Whether like there was a book I read that said we all have a worry box, and when you get rid of a big worry, and you've gotten rid of one, where you think, but then you fill it right back up.
Yeah.
I mean, literally within moments, you're like, oh, my worry box is so full again. And I think, yeah, first of all, I don't know the pain people are going through. And what I do is if someone does trouble me, I usually say a quick prayer and I say, God, please help them. I think that they may be spiritually or emotionally ill in some way right now. And I hope God will benefit them. And, it just kind of sets me free from saying, wow, how they had road rage, and I'm going to
Yeah.
cuss in the car, or who cares?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and some of this is a bigger learning curve than others. I mean, me being, single as a 50-year-old, is a little different. I mean, I'm not that well versed as into driving in my own lane and not being road rage
Yeah.
about. Single is new for me. So it's, a different level of newness, and it comes with learning curves.
Yeah, learning curve is something new. Perfect. So you have two final questions. So the last question is sort of, what's like a good advice for like a brand new entrepreneur starting out, or someone that just kind of wants to do something, but they don't know, how to get started, or, what to do? What would be the advice that you would give someone?
I would write a business plan. Don't make it, it can be very simple. And then make sure that what you're offering, you feel it has a unique selling proposition. I interview a lot of girls and they'll say, I'm going to start a makeup line.
Yeah.
Well, there's quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Not that yours can't be the best, but I mean, there's private label companies that will, take their makeup line for, the Kardashians and everyone else and put their label on it. So, make sure that it's got some uniqueness and that you have some funding for it, whatever that is. And that you're ready to do this, that you're not like, gosh, I'm super in debt. I have this and this. Make sure that it's going to work to those levels that you can have an accountability for a business plan.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, sounds good. Yeah, no, exactly. Like you need to be ready to start your own business and just kind of, because it's going to take a lot of work. I always tell people the same thing too. Like it's going to take a lot of work, and kind of try to find something you love doing, because there's going to be days that you don't want to do anything, but that passion and just like that goal that you have, that this is what you want to do, is going to keep you going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Like,
And you got to know my 2019 motto, and sorry for all you entrepreneurs that are like, boy, this was really good until she, you got to know when to hold them and fold them, like Kenny Rogers' song. When they show out Einstein had 15 failures or didn't make it through high school or whatever, all these people that failed, it's true. Failure is a part of life.
Yeah.
But I also think that, you having a good gut instinct about it too, and saying, hey, I'm going to take a sharp right turn now because I just failed here, but I can see I can pick up the ball and run downfield. But if you're kind of like, this is a loser and I just need to tell people this isn't working, tell people, because they're going to love you either way. This is, most of your friends and family are going to respect that you tried.
Yep.
But coming from one perfectionist to another, most of us don't want to really say, oh, I failed, but I tried.
Yeah, most people don't want that. I think that failure is what scares people the most from trying something new or doing a business. I always tell people, like, I've failed hundreds of times, and like just gotta keep going. Like I just love to challenge. And people say, "Oh, you got so lucky." I'm like, "Oh, I've done it hundreds of times since college. I've been doing things and just trying and experimenting and just learning."
Well, and it's like hang gliding. If we went gliding, we'd both be scared to death.
Yep.
But if we did it for the 19th time, we'd be like, oh, it's no big deal. So sometimes just putting yourself out there to be vulnerable. Brene Brown talks about vulnerability and how uncomfortable it is. But you kind of get used to the uncomfortable. And what I say to people now is, this is my new life. It's full of new trails, and I can be resistant to them, but they're coming either way, and I want to go down them.
Yeah, it's also being you want them to happen to you too. So it's like, you're accepting that things might not be okay, and that's fine, because you're open to that, and you want to see how do you change, does it affect you, and sort of how do you overcome that. At least that's,
and what's the gratitude? What's the nuggets in those three? In the thing you did, like, what do you take away from it that you can say this was a positive instead of, boy, I stubbed my toe really hard?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and then I guess the final question is sort of, where can we go to learn more about yourself? About your business, like your business?
It's all on saltability.com. Really, like I said, there's so much information on there. And I don't know that I'd say to anyone, go online and look about Ann Brown. I'd say, what was the one thing that Kevin and Ann said together that's going to be the catalyst for you to say, gosh darn it, not only do I like myself, but I can do this. And even if you do it in baby steps, it's little habits that create changes and patterns in your life. And, I'm encouraged. I'm not perfect. I'm not. And I'm encouraged by people all the time, whether it's a bad story or a good story, to think, hey, so it wouldn't be about looking at Ann Brown at Saltability. It would just be more about where you are in your cycle of growth as an entrepreneur, and where do you think the next step, the right step is for you right now at your growth of you as a person or you and your company.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ann. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank